Veni, Vini, Amari.
We came, we saw, we loved.
Welcome to the Partnership Vision Podcast,
where we discuss how to have a relationship full of unity, trust, fun, and fulfillment.
We'll be sharing the rewards of preparing yourself for your best partner and being your best for them.
I like everything about you. Everything about you.
And so after each journaling we do, we actually share what we wrote and what we got from God, and that unifies us that much more in sharing, because it's like we're growing in Christ, but we're growing in Christ together. And we're so open with each other, there's nothing that we could write about that we would feel the need to hide. And plus, if you feel you need to hide something, that's a red flag in a relationship big time. That needs to be addressed. But getting back on my point is that we share it, and a lot of times, if not almost every time, just about, he actually loops what he gives to us together in some sort of fashion. He ties it together by a single point, or kind of confirming to us both in different ways, or something along the lines. And that's another thing about, well, did I hear God for real? That's another way he's confirmed it to us, is that we don't see what each other writes before we write it. We sit at the same table, but we're in the zone pursuing God. We're not looking at other's test papers, We're not reading each other's work. So we don't know what each other wrote, and then we don't know what each other's getting from God either until it's the big reveal or the debriefing time. And like I said, a lot of times, not every time, there's something that loops them together, and we're like, shh, that was God. That was so cool.
It is so different doing two-way journaling as a couple from what it would be like doing it alone, doing it by yourself. And, it is still amazing. If you do it by yourself, that's awesome. Kudos to you. That's great. Do it. Maybe you can find a friend or somebody, if you're not married, if you don't have a partner yet, find somebody just to do it together with, whether or not you share the results, but just the accountability thing, just feeling like, okay, we're both going to do it at these times. A daily thing is great, but if you can make it once a week, even, is better than nothing.
Totally.
And, just get some kind of routine of doing this. That'll be great. And if it's just by yourself, that's great. But as a couple, it's crazy because God interweaves his messages between the two of us. And a lot of times one person's questions are answered in the other person's journaling.
Definitely. It's like you might start getting oh, I guess he's not going to answer that right now for whatever reasons. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, I got this from God. Oh, I see what you did there. Sneaky. I like it.
It's a way that he unites us together even more and expresses how this covenant relationship that we have, what makes marriage special is that it's not just, you and this other human being. It's you and this other human being and God. He made you for each other. You fit into each other perfectly, and he's the glue that holds you together. It's his love. It's his being. He speaks through that marriage. He speaks through that relationship. It's an entity forged in God and in the heart of God. And so this two-way journaling really taps into that and really shows you how much he really is involved in your marriage. We've already seen one use of it when we were in Ohio. It was actually used to bring a couple together to address a very serious issue in their marriage that was kind of the elephant in the room, that they both kind of knew there was something, and they weren't able to, just get it out and talk about it. But two-way journaling started revealing to both of them, hey, there's something here. Mm-hmm. And so it finally just came out, and they were able to get over a massive thing that had just been taking away so much from their relationship, and shame, and so many things that kept them from being able to, just
be a real couple.
Just be a real couple.
Be happy, be in love, walk together in unity.
Understand each other.
There was too much fear.
Yeah, and it was amazing how it was used in that case. God teaches us a lot about how to treat each other and how to think about each other and how to see each other through two-way journaling. And it's an awesome, practice. I would say if you're married, do two-way journaling with your partner. Period. Like, do it. And if you're not married yet, and hopefully if you're in a relationship, that is your goal, is to work through this and see if this is meant to be forever and get married. Getting married should be the goal. And when you're in that phase and you're at that point, start two-way journaling together so that God can speak into your relationship before it's established as a marriage. And you will be amazed to see how God's blessing will come on your relationship. He'll correct things that are wrong, and he'll get you in the right direction and help you to really just appreciate each other. Like, so much of relationship is just learning to appreciate each other. Because, like, at first, of course, when you're really just in love, falling in love with a person, like, you can't help yourself. Like, everything they do, they walk on water. Like, you just adore them. It doesn't matter what it is. But as you grow and as you get older, you get more familiar with each other, you have to intentionally infuse that. Like, remember who this person is. Remember who they are. Remember. It's kind of like the like in Lion King, Simba. Remember who you are. Like, well, what do you mean you need to remember who you are? You're Simba. Like, no, like, he can lose track of his identity. He can lose track of who he really is.
Which he did.
Yeah, and you can lose track of your partner's identity. You can lose track of who they really are. You can lose track of, like, this is the woman I delight in. This is the person that just amazes me at every turn. When you start getting, like, just lost in life and lost in problems and stuff, like, you can lose sight of that. And the way to just stay madly in love with each other is to stay intentional and stay in that place of remembering and recognizing and seeing the good in each other. Two-way journaling does an amazing job at helping you establish that habit, and God will personally bring you two together and keep on bringing you two together. So it's a great process. You get the three together all in one, and it's an awesome experience. So do it.
Yeah, and along with that is, if you do it every day, I've noticed that it's easy to know and remember what you're thankful for, and you're able to thank God actually for more than you would otherwise. Because, if you go days without journaling, without thanking Him, unless you're doing it in prayer, that's cool too. But just speaking strictly about journaling, is that if you don't journal for days and days and days, you might forget, like, oh, well, you did this cool thing on Thursday. I didn't thank Him for that or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that by doing it every day, you can actually thank Him on the regular for everything that you want to. And also by journaling and not just praying, is that you actually get to see and remember and go back and read what He told you in the past and see where you've come from and see how you've grown and where you began with God. And it's transcribed on paper. You just, you keep it safe in a safe place, and you take care of it, and it's going to be there.
You get to read the thoughts of God towards you, and that's really the reason to read the Bible too. You need to read the Bible and read it with, not just a religious lens. Read it with, like, a heart, like, this was written for me. This was written to me. Because where it's talking about the people of God, where it's talking about His heart towards His children, that's you. Insert your name into everywhere where He's saying these things, whether it's to Jeremiah or to Ezekiel or Isaiah, or, Jesus talking to His disciples. Realize that these are love letters. These are things written. Take it personally, because it is personal. Take it for yourself. But this is, an extension of that, an expansion on that. You're getting these very personalized, responses. It's two-way journaling. You're getting a letter back from God. You're getting a journal entry back from God. And you can meditate on those things. You can come back to those things. You should definitely go back to those things and reflect on what God has been saying to you and saying about you. Like, so much of it is him revealing Himself to you, you getting to know Him, and Him getting to know you, and that part might be a little confusing. Like, he knows everything, right? He's omniscient, that means He's all knowing, yet He enjoys this process of getting to know us. He's not this perpetually bored being, I know everything. He enjoys the process. He enjoys like us getting to know him and him getting to know us in this process of relationship. Because there's a difference, really. There's a difference between observing and knowing everything about someone because you see it, and knowing a person personally, because you're right alongside of them living life. And that's what two-way journaling is with God. You're getting to know each other personally. And it's awesome to see your relationship grow. It's awesome to look back and see what he thinks of you and how you are learning to think of him and how you're learning to see life differently.
And that's how you fight the enemy's voice that tries to come in saying that, oh, well, you're not worthy, or you're lower than dirt, or you don't deserve this, or what makes you think that you can do that? What makes you think that that's even something you should do? What are you thinking? All the beat downs that you get from the enemy day on day basis, and being able to negate that by rereading what he's told you. And that's another thing too, is make it mobile. Take pictures of what you get from your two-way journaling, and it be on your phone. And if you're at work or you're at college or wherever you may be, and something's hitting you, and you're trying to pray, and maybe you're not to a point where you feel like you can at that moment for whatever reason, you can go back and silently just open up your gallery and go to those pictures and read it and meditate on it and fight off that voice that keeps lying to you and keeps messing your life over, because you have authority over it. We're above and not beneath. We are the head, not the tail. And you make them the tail.
Yeah, and it is a real thing. Look, spiritual warfare is a real thing. Like Apostle Paul told us in Ephesians 6 that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And wrestling, by the way, in the Greek there is talking about being locked in actual mortal struggle, like you're literally wrestling with somebody is the picture. We're not wrestling with flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual forces of darkness in the heavenly sphere. We do have things that we are fighting, we're battling just by walking with God, just by trying to live the life that he has called us to live and wanting to be close to him. There is a war, and that's why Jesus said that he gave us power and authority over all the power of the evil one. We're told to resist the devil, and he will flee from us. So there is a resisting. It is an active resisting. There is a actual it's like jujitsu or like MMA. Like you're wrestling this guy.
That's also what calls for the full armor of God. Why would he give us the full armor of God and say to put it on regularly if it wasn't fighting something real?
Yeah, it is a real thing. So recognize that and recognize that one of the best defense against the enemy is hearing from God. It is the word of God. That is the sword of the Spirit. And, of course, that's primarily the Bible, but it's also every way that God speaks to you. It's every way that God is, revealing himself to you. And the encouragement that you get and the revelation that you get just in time with God and just spending time in a relationship with God, it becomes the tool, it becomes the power that you can access to cast down the arguments of the enemy against you and against why you should be happy and why you should be living the life God created you to live, how it's not really feasible, it's not really possible, the different things that come at you to convince you to go into the wrong way. He gives you exactly the words you need to fight back and shut that stuff down.
So powerful. So in this, in prayer and every facet we can find, so we both diligently pursue what God has purposed for us each day, and we follow it as closely as humanly possible, because we're humans, we're still going to make mistakes, but we're going to be committed and dedicated to what we know God has purposed. But on top of that, there's his grace on things that he has for us. It doesn't matter if we didn't sleep well the night prior. We seek his grace and use discipline to get a real move on the day. And we don't let negative self-talk of oh no, I had a bad night's sleep last night. I was so restless. I can't do anything today. I'll just have to sleep a few more hours and go in late, or I have to take a nap or whatever. No. You seek his grace. You ask for the energy that he has purpose for the day, and you walk in it. You have faith and you believe that you can have that energy, even though the physicality of not sleeping didn't work out for you that night. That doesn't matter. You seek God and you follow him, and everything will be fine.
With God, all things are possible, and all things are possible for him who believes. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. These things, they're not just, empty words. They're promises from God. They're empowering statements. They impart the power to you if you believe them, and saying them helps you believe them.
Declarations.
Yeah. So don't pull the whole, you can feel like you're being, well, I'm just being real. I don't feel this, I don't feel this. I'm not going to say it. Well, do you want to feel it? Do you want to be able to get in alignment with it? Do you want it to be true in your life? Then you better start saying it, because you need your feelings to change. You need your thoughts to change. You need to get yourself on board with something that's true, whether or not you're feeling that it's true right now.
And it doesn't matter if you feel like you're being silly or it's weird doing this. Well, if it's going to work, isn't it worth it to get over that silliness or weirdness when it really isn't silly or weird anyway, but that persona that you feel that it has, isn't it more important to get through your problem than to feel like you're being silly?
And what if that's spiritual warfare? What if that's just the enemy trying to make you feel silly, trying to make it seem awkward, trying to make it seem like it's something that,
to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, when it's feeling all uncomfortable for you to just speak verses aloud from the Bible. I mean,
it's kind of weird.
That's strange. You ought to ask yourself, is this some insecurity? Is this some kind of a problem that I have, or is this maybe demonic? Either way, it should not stop you. You should not allow it to keep you from speaking these things aloud and coming into agreement with them and recognizing this is God's work in you. This is the power of God in you that you access this way.
And yet another revelation, we do see this in a verse that we will quote here in a second, but another revelation that we have is we can't do anything apart from God. And it's like, as you can already tell by our laughter, it's a humorous kind of one, and I'll let him take the lead on this one.
Yeah, this one is one that it's kind of recurred to me at different times in life, and sometimes at some points when I wasn't more as mature as I am now. Not that I'm super mature, but when I was definitely a lot less mature than I am now, I'd just be like, that doesn't really make any sense. I don't get that. What do you mean? But now, as I laugh because it's so true. I laugh because it's like, oh my goodness. It's based in John 15:5, and I'm using the English Standard Version here. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing.
Nothing.
So that part would get me, and I'd be like, what do you mean? And, okay. But now I really understand this a lot better, because there's different times of your life, God does different things and things happen in different ways. But currently right now, God has us on this trek of learning that we need him for everything, daily things that go on. We need his help. We need him to anoint us. We need his grace. We need his protection. We need wisdom, and just small things and small decisions. There are some mornings that we get up and it feels exhausting. And so we have to pray and say, Lord, give us strength, give us energy, be our strength, be our energy. Help us to be inspired and motivated to live this day the way that you called us to live. There are times that I'm stumbling downstairs, spilling my coffee in the sink and knocking stuff over, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And instead of starting to get mad, instead of getting myself, irritated and getting, aggravated at myself, I just this morning, I was like, Lord, I need your help. I need you to help me not stumble around like an idiot and not mess stuff up, not spill my coffee anymore. I already see where this is going, and I need your help, Lord. I need you right now. Thank you that I have you with me, empowering me. Your grace is sufficient and is covering me. And all that went away. The rest of the day, I didn't have any problem. I did not spill my coffee one more time, even though usually it's a little bit of a precarious trip out to our table, out where we do a journal. I've got one giant oversized mug that has my oatmeal in it, and my smaller cup that has my coffee in it. And I'm trying to, hold both of those in my fist, single fist both of those with also carrying my water bottle, my shaker cup actually that I drink water out of, and then also the retractable leash that we walk Loki with. We take him outside with us when we're doing it. He's spending the time outdoors with us. So as I'm moving around, I'm trying to balance these things in my hand. I'm trying to walk him and make sure that he doesn't get up to any mischief, doesn't try to eat something that's going to set off his allergies or anything, and just keeping an eye out on him. At the same time, if I lean too much to the side or forward or backward or whatever, my coffee just spill on myself and on the ground, gets on the mug, gets on the table. If I set the mug down, it's just really annoying. And I have had this problem with spilling coffee.
And he's tried several different strategies within this too.
And the only thing I could figure out before was just all right, I'm just gonna have to do things one at a time. And I hated that because it takes too much time, and it's too much extra time to get out there and do that. But this morning, I didn't spill a drop. I didn't have a single problem. I walked out there. It's like I just knew exactly what I was doing. And that was after the beginning of I'm bumping into stuff. I'm knocking stuff over. It's oh, Lord, help me. So, we've been learning that even in basic things, and also with this podcasting is another example. We tried a couple times to record and we didn't pray beforehand. We didn't really, and I'm not talking about necessarily the prayer of are we supposed to do this, Lord, but the prayer of Lord, be with us, anoint us, give us your grace, be involved in this process. We need you, God, to do this. We're not resting on our laurels. We're not trying to just rely on our talents and rely on our skills and just oh, we know we can put on a good show or whatever. We're not going with that. Our confidence is not in ourselves. Our confidence is in you. That's what we've had to learn to do, because when we were trying, especially here, to really start up the podcast again after it had been so long, we seemed to be getting our rear ends handed to us. We were having a really hard time, and if we get frustrated and things would go wrong and we couldn't catch our flow. And we've just had to learn that with everything, even things that we're normally good at and things that we can normally pull off pretty well, God's not giving us a grace if we're not asking him for it. We're not able to do it unless we're giving him the credit, we're giving him the glory, we're involving him in the process. We are meant to do things in relationship with God. Apart from him, we can do nothing. We have to connect with him first, and not just at the beginning of the day, but throughout the whole day. You stay connected to Jesus. You stay connected to the vine, because, think about it this way. What if you hop in the car because you think you need to go, get a pop from the gas station, and you get into a wreck, and maybe you die in that wreck, and it happened because you were not in contact with God. You were not in contact with him about that decision. You just decided you're going to go do this thing, and so something terrible happened to you. Well, if you had been in connection with him, maybe he would have told you no, don't go today. Don't do that today. You could have been prevented, and that's on the extreme end of things. We don't understand the timing of everything that's going on in our world all the time. We're not aware of all the details and different things that are happening. And it's just so important to stay in touch with God and just be in a place. And it's funner. It's so much more fun. We have blast every day, even when we're just doing normal stuff, quote unquote normal stuff, the things that are not the exciting subjects that we've been really just waiting to get into. We still just enjoy everything. And really, it's largely thanks to the fact that we start our days seeking God. The two-way journaling is the main way that we do that really just sets a good basis for that. And it's since we've been doing it every day, things are crazy better and so much happier. And, we really do realize that apart from him, we can do nothing.
We even seek him in our workouts. We say a prayer before we start working out. And then if things are getting a little overly difficult for whatever reason, whether maybe our nose is stuffy because of allergies or where our muscles are tired from, again, a bad night's sleep or something or whatever, we ask for help. And then from that point on, it's the workout's smoother than it ever really has been. And we also ask for his help in scheduling things, even when to release a podcast episode.
Yeah, direction is so important, and that is a big thing that we also rely on is getting his direction for timing, getting his direction for when and how we should do things. We do what we call prophetic planning, where we basically set things out and say, okay, so here's the things that need to be done this week. Or, if you've made a big life change, a big move, like, okay, what's the new schedule, the new way to do things? We set this stuff out before God and we pray over it, and we do listening prayer, like, okay, what about this day for this, Lord? What about this day for that? And just based on what we get from him and what we feel a peace about together, that's if you don't hear a voice, if you don't get an impression in your mind, if you don't get some kind of clarity, then usually just go with what peace you get over it. And God gives you the peace. God speaks through peace. God does not speak through fear. He does not speak through suspicion. If you feel afraid or something really bothers you or concerns you, that's not God speaking to you. God speaks to you through peace. So the thing that you have peace over is the thing that's, him saying that's the thing to do. That's the thing to go with. And so we do that, and, it's very biblical, really, that we are supposed to do this. I have a load of scriptures here, just to take out a couple of them. In the Passion Translation, Ephesians 1:11, through our union with Christ, we too have been claimed by God as his own inheritance. Before we were even born, he gave us our destiny, that we would fulfill the plan of God, who always accomplishes every purpose and plan in his heart. So he has this destiny that he's given us before we were even born. And then in Proverbs 20:24, it is the Lord who directs your life, for each step you take is ordained by God to bring you closer to your destiny. And then Acts 26:16, this is an example of how he spoke to Paul, how he speaks to those that he's called, and he's called us all to ministry. He's called us all to walk with him. Get up and stand to your feet, for I have appeared to you to reveal your destiny and to commission you as my assistant. You will be a witness to what you have seen and to the things I will reveal whenever I appear to you. Which is saying he's continuing to appear to him, continuing to speak to him, continuing to direct him in his destiny. And then here's the real zinger, Ephesians 5:15 through 17, and this is the English Standard Version. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise but as wise, making the best use of the time. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So we need to understand what the will of the Lord is. We need to know what he's speaking to us, what he wants to show us, what he wants to lead us into. James solidly rebuked in James 5, in chapter 5, he solidly rebuked those that, well, we're going to do this and that tomorrow, and they got all their plans, and they know what they're going to do, and we're going to make this successful venture, and this is what we're going to do tomorrow. And he rebuked them, and he's like, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what's going to happen in your life. You think you're God, No, you should be saying, if God is willing, if it's what God wills, then we will do this or that. And his point wasn't just to be, wishy-washy and be like, oh, well, if God wills, I hope so. It wasn't just to be humble. It's that we really should be seeking the will of God. We should really be seeking him out on what we're supposed to do with our lives. It's vital. It's important. And it's really the key to our success and the key to the success of anybody that has lived a Christian life, really, at the end of the day. If you want to fulfill your destiny, you don't do it by just ad-libbing and trying to figure everything out yourself. And then, well, here's my plans, Lord, and I hope you bless them. It works by following how he leads you in your life. And that can look very different for different people, how he speaks to you, how he leads you. But that is the point, is you seek the leading of the Holy Spirit. You seek what his will really is for your life.
So you see through what we've said so far, which we still have more, trust me, but you can see so far that by centering ourselves in God's will, it brings us closer together, it enacts a real team dynamic, and everything is taken care of from just doing that. He's not going to lead us into something we're not meant for. In Matthew 6:33 it says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you."
And that's everything in the context. It's everything that the Gentiles seek. It's everything that the nations need and want. It's all your concerns. It's everything that is required in life. You seek the kingdom first. You go after God first. Righteousness, it's just being in right standing with him. It's just, where you're in a good relationship with God. That's it. That's basically it. And when you're in a good relationship with God, he leads you into everything. When you're walking not for just your own concerns of what you want in life, but what he wants in your life, everything works out, and you end up getting the desires of your heart. You end up getting the things that he put in you to really want and really pursue with all your heart.
So here are some of the things that we've been learning. There's various forms of complaining, and there's actually some forms that you wouldn't normally see as complaining. For instance, your cat ends up scratching your arm because it jumped on you and miscalculated, and it hurt, and you heard your skin ripping open.
Ouch.
And it really made you mad. You have the option of storming into the next room and exclaiming just how bad it hurt and angered you, which is complaining. Or you have the choice to simmer down, not let yourself be anxious or angered, and just it happened. The whole phrase of you can't cry over spilt milk. Well, you just got scratched. Your skin is broken and needs to heal. So there's nothing you can really do. You treat it and maybe even pray, "Oh Lord, please take this pain away and
help it to heal well."
And help it to heal well and not scar, because trust me, I myself have plenty of cat scratch scars. And just move on. It's just like, it's not a life-threatening issue. I mean, another instance with that same example is if your cat, was scared by something and actually gashed your finger open and it was bleeding, which I've had that happen. And you go in another room, like telling whoever is in there, whether it be your significant other or not, like, "Hey, I'm bleeding, I need help." That's not complaining. That's getting first aid.
Yeah.
You're getting help. Yeah. You're not complaining at that point.
Yeah. Or if you're genuinely shocked by something that's happening and you're not just reacting, angrily about it, you're just like, "Oh my goodness, this just happened." Like, it really is like something you have to process. You have to figure out what you're supposed to do about it. That's not complaining. That's fine. But when it's like, "Oh man, it was a rough night last night. Oh, I feel terrible." That's just complaining. Like, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping edify your listener. Like, you can just get up that morning and be like, "Okay, well, thank you, Lord, for today. Thank you that you're with me. Thank you for your blessing and your strength, and that this is going to be a great day," and move on. You don't need to take time to be like, "Oh, I had such a terrible night. What am I gonna do?" A lot of times when we're asking for prayer, I find that we can use that as an excuse to complain. And we might call it venting, and we might call it just trying to get prayer, but a lot of times we are just complaining. We are just, needing to acknowledge. Somehow we just need to acknowledge that this negative thing happened that we don't like, or a negative thing could happen that we don't like. And it is only complaining, and it is only destructive. It's not really good.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
Like, we really should be very sparing about the concept of venting, of the need to vent. Like, a lot of times venting is just complaining, is just putting out toxic stuff and just putting a focus on negative things instead of thinking about something positive. Like, if something bad happened, oh, well, something bad happened. I mean, it is what it is, do what you need to do about it. Focus on the good, focus on moving forward.
Exactly, because that's another thing, is that negativity is a gaping hole for the rest of the situation and the day to be spoiled. You have to be mindful of this. It's easy to go on about what annoys and angers you, which allows it to grow once it starts. And it's really, again, all downhill from there, because enough of it, and you infect the person you're talking to. You end up bringing them down. And there's again, yet another difference between asking for help and just flat out venting. The more negativity, the more everything else gets tainted with that lens, and it's harder to get out of it. And it opens doors for spiritual warfare. Thank you for joining us where the heart is heard.
Partnership Vision Ministries. Stay driven by love,
so you can wreck all the fear. You can check us out on Instagram at Partnership Vision Ministries,
or on Facebook on Partnership Vision Ministries page.
And even Twitter at PVisionM. Y'all come back now, you hear?